wonderful town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. The people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, New York, it's a wonderful town.
And now, it's time for Talkin' New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network of programming. And here's your hosts, Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike.
Well, we're coming at you from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talkin' New York Sports with Billy C. and Brooklyn Mike. And speaking about Brooklyn Mike, he joins me right now. What's up, brother?
Good morning, brother. How are you today?
Not too bad. Not too actually, I am a little bad today.
What happened?
I dropped my phone in the toilet. You know, I mean, how do you do that,
Here's a
man?
big question. Did you get it?
Yeah, I had to get it, but it's gone. It's history. It's I mean, I had it in a sweatshirt, and I'm getting ready to, do my thing, and it drops out of my sweatshirt right into the toilet. I'm like, I can't believe it. But anyway, that's the exciting life of Billy C. Do you have anything that you can top that with?
I really don't. You really shocked me with that one this morning. So, but you know what they say? They say if a phone falls in water, what you should do is put it in rice.
Yeah.
Immediately.
I've already heard all of that. And
Yeah.
I mean, when you take a phone and you put it in rice after it fell in the toilet, it's a whole new meaning of getting shit-faced, really.
That's good.
But anyway, let's start off with some hockey news. I know you've been chomping at the bit, and you've been waiting. I got to be honest. Yeah, okay, for everybody that's a hockey fan out there, yeah, it's on. Game's on. But is it really worth it, Mikey? I mean, the season. I'm going to be honest right off the bat. I mean, I'm not that much of a hockey fan. It's so much so that, I kind of keep an eye on it, but I don't know when the season's supposed to start, when it's supposed to end. Isn't it more than halfway over?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have like a 48-game season, which is, I believe, the last time there was a strike or a lockout. That's the minimum they'll do is 48 games. If it went another week or two, the season would have been canceled. But hey, listen, for hockey fans, 48 games as opposed to a canceled season, I mean, they'll take it. Especially like I said last time we spoke, Ranger fans are really looking forward to this season with the acquisition of Nash on the team now. They got a good shot. But they're all going to be coming in with this disadvantage of not playing together, and being off so long. But we'll see. And again, for hockey fans, it's good. For you and I, okay, it's here. It's it's a sport, and that's about it. But hey, it's better than nothing.
I tell you what it's going to really boil down to in hockey. Traditionally is a longer season. And I don't mean compared to what we're going to go through this year, but I mean compared to other sports, it's a long season. And durability and longevity, usually the teams that can hang in there and get gel together as a team and all that stuff, are there at the end, for playoffs and everything else. This year, it seems, because of the shortened season, it seems like, hey man, if you can jump out to a lead and hold it, you got a good shot of making it to the playoffs and of course winning the cup.
Yeah, so teams that wouldn't normally stand the test of time during an 82-game season, they have a better shot or a legitimate shot at doing well in the playoffs because of the shortened season. So, hey, listen, it'll be like the Wild Wild West. Can be a shootout, and not necessarily in a shortened season that does the best team win, because you need those games to really establish yourself. So, if the Rangers don't win, which people are actually having them favorites to win the cup this year, it's not going to be a surprise. But if all goes well and they play a full season next year, I think they'll have a better shot because they'll have that full season under their belt.
How are the Islanders going to do, man?
Man, listen. I mean, they haven't been relevant since
the '80s.
The '80s. I tell you one thing though. when I'm in New York, I'm literally about 4 miles from the Barclays Center where I stay. So I definitely, I want to go see a couple of games. Tickets won't be, outrageous. The Barclays Center is supposed to be like beautiful, state of the art arena. So I mean, listen, you go to a hockey game, and you know this as well as I do. It's a great sport to watch in person.
Yeah, live.
Yeah.
Live,
Yeah, live. Absolutely.
I don't understand all the rules in hockey. I mean, I just don't get it, but I do enjoy it live, and I've agreed with you on that 100%. Even minor league hockey teams I've been involved with and seen many games. It's just it is exciting there, and it's a totally different game. I have no interest. It's like like golf to me. I wouldn't mind playing it. Maybe even hanging out at the grounds, but watching it on TV is something I just wouldn't do, and it's the same thing with hockey. Unless, like you said, it's a playoff game.
Yeah, if it's a playoff game, I'll as the season, winds down, and I think, well, obviously that's going to get extended. It's probably going to end sometime in June. So, if there's a Game 7 or, if there's an exciting series, yeah, I'll turn it on. I like to watch a good Game 7 of any hockey series. But other than that, you're never going to see me watch a regular season game.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about today in football and baseball moves and stuff like that. But I wanted to touch real quick on basketball. Our Nets are scratching and clawing their way back in. I think they're only 2 games out after the win last night. And the Knicks seem to they're holding on to first place, but they're having some issues. Like, what the hell is going on with this? Meet me after the game the other night, and then Carmelo Anthony said, I just wanted to talk. What's up with that whole thing?
You know what I say to that? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I mean, come on. According to Carmelo, or according to reports, what Garnett said was, your wife tastes like Honey Nut Cheerios. What that means, I have no clue. I mean, why Honey Nut Cheerios? I mean, it's just, listen, and Garnett is known to be a trash talker, and he's gone. Sometimes he goes beyond what you consider trash talk. Like I believe it was Duncan's mother that passed away, of Tim Duncan. I'm talking about of San Antonio.
Yeah.
Mother passed away. I believe it was cancer. I don't know how long ago, but during a game, it happened to be Mother's Day, and Garnett said hey, Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, God.
I mean, the guy's rude. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the guy's an ass, Kevin Garnett. But listen, you're professional. You're supposed to block those things out. And this whole thing about, I'm going to wait for him by the bus. I mean, it's like, I'll meet you in the schoolyard.
Exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's not even high school.
Ridiculous.
It's like elementary school, man. You wait till you get out of the bathroom later. I mean, come on.
I mean, do you really, do you want to punch the guy in the mouth? Yeah, absolutely. You want to. I mean, there are things that I want to do in life, but I can't because it's against the law. But you have to, show some restraint. And listen, bottom line is, Celtics got to win that night because Kevin Garnett got into Melo's head, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get under his skin. He wanted to affect his game, and he did. He did. So one win for Kevin Garnett. That's, chalk it up to what he did.
Yeah, and the Knicks have lost 3 in a row. They looked unbeatable for a couple of weeks there, losing sporadically, but they lost 3 in a row. The Nets won 5 in a row, So everybody was kind of critical of the Nets ownership for firing what's his name when they lost a couple of games in a row.
Avery Johnson.
Yeah, Avery Johnson, and even you thought that
I was critical of it. Yeah.
And since the move, I mean, this is like a different team put on those jerseys. They just it just makes me wonder. You mentioned, hey, you're a professional, you're supposed to block these things out when you were referring to Carmelo Anthony a couple of seconds ago, but. Do you need to be motivated like this if you're a pro, especially in the NBA? I mean, was this a motivation, or was it in fact really a coaching issue?
I think the players are now buying into PJ Carlesimo's system, That's what they've been saying, in reports. Listen, Avery Johnson was like coach of the month 2 months in a row, and then he gets fired the third month. I mean, that's just crazy.
It is.
And basically, if your player is going to quit on you, if your players are going to whine and say, "Oh, this is not the system I'm used to," and they're going to quit and be babies about it, you could have had Phil Jackson in there. That doesn't matter who you have coaching. If your players quit, your players quit, and it reflects you. So you're going to get fired. You can't fire the team. So it's unfortunate that listen, players got him fired, as far as I'm concerned.
We've talked about that so much, Mikey, and the professional sports arena. And I'm talking about all of them now. I'm not just we're talking about basketball right now, but it's the same in all the pro sports, the 4 major pro sports. It's not about the coaches anymore. It's about the players because of the money. You could be the best coach in the league and get fired. I mean, look at Lovie Smith. I mean, realistically, how did the Bears fire him? I mean, yeah, they missed the playoffs, but granted, they also had some injuries and stuff like that. But this guy's done nothing but win for the team. I mean, there's too much pressure and too much emphasis on the coach or manager in pro sports, where it's the complete opposite in college. They're wondering, what Sabian's going to do, what Notre Dame coach is going to do, Kelly. And the bottom line is, neither one of them should move where they're from or where they're at now, because they're the game, really.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Nick Saban, I'm staying put. I mean,
Nick Saban proved that the NFL wasn't really for him, right?
Well, if he failed in the NFL, let's put it that way, and if that really gets to him, and I want to change that on my resume, maybe he'll take another shot at it. But as far as, I mean, he's the king right now of where he sits, and plus he's making, I don't know, $5 million a year. He runs that whole organization. The only thing I could see him coming back into the NFL is to change that glitch on his resume. Other than that, why move? I mean, was it 3 out of 4 years? National champions. I mean,
and he's got a stronger team going. I mean, realistically, and this boggles my mind. We might as well jump into the BCS right now. He actually is going to be going into next season with a lot of his team intact. He's got a stud as a quarterback. He's got 2 studs as running backs. He's got a plethora of receivers. That's on the offensive side. He's been known for the defense, and a lot of those guys were sophomores and juniors too. So I mean, this is a team and a coach that can conceivably win back-to-back championships.
Is my question to you, being a big Alabama fan, is A.J. Cameron, the quarterback, is he definitely coming back?
Yeah, he said he was.
Oh, okay.
He said he was. He said that he was going to give it another year. The only thing is, aside from a couple of facial differences, this guy is a spitting image of McElroy. I mean, the Alabama quarterback does not have to be a Peyton Manning, does not have to be a 6'5", pure passing quarterback. They just need to, control a game just like these guys do. When we talk about the NFL in a little bit, I'm not so sure those small guys can make it anymore. We'll talk about RG3 and all of that, but let's just talk about the BCS real quick. Alabama, I can't stand Notre Dame. Sorry, everybody listening out there. I know a lot of you Notre Dame fans happen to be New York Giant fans and Yankee fans, and I don't like those guys either. So, and everybody said, "Oh, this is a year Notre Dame, Notre Dame," and they got spanked. I mean, it wasn't even close. 42-14. The first drive was like Muhammad Ali running out across the ring and punching George Foreman right in the face in their fight. And that's exactly what happened. And it just looked like it was a high school team toying with a Pop Warner team. I mean, that's how much of a discrepancy that game was, Mike.
Yes, there's no doubt. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I was a little surprised about how dominating Alabama was, but I definitely figured they'd win by the spread, which I think was like 10 points.
It was 9.5, and I thought that it's funny you say that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's funny you say that because when I looked at the points, I thought that it was kind of high. I mean, yeah, I'm an Alabama fan and everything else, but statistically, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Notre Dame actually was better. Not by much, but they were better. And the argument is the divisions that they each play in, and obviously, Alabama plays in a more closely like NFL level, conference.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and I think that shows. I mean, listen, if Notre Dame would have played Ohio State, I think Ohio State beats them. I think there are other teams, that are, who else? Oregon, maybe? Georgia?
Georgia. And let me tell you something. Georgia is probably, that game was a nail-biter between Georgia and Alabama. And Georgia is an excellent team. I agree with you. I think Georgia beats them. Listen, I thought Notre Dame was overrated. I thought it was a joke.
I did too.
I thought that it was a joke that T.O. was in the Heisman race. I mean, it just goes to show you about publicity and PR and how much juice Notre Dame has when it comes to things outside off the field. Not that Alabama doesn't, and that's what made it so intriguing. These two schools and storied franchises basically going against each other. And I'm just glad the tide rolled, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, they've been bad for so many years. This was like you said, people I think overrated them because, look, they're undefeated, this, that. But look who they're playing, And again, it's just this. This yearning by college, football fans, Notre Dame fans, for this team to be ranked and be good and to be back in the national championship game where it should be. I mean, again, I could pick out 3 or 4 teams in the BCS that can beat Notre Dame. There's no doubt in my mind.
Now, I read somewhere, and I got to be honest, I didn't have a chance to even research it before the show this morning. But I think it was out either yesterday or the day before that. Going into this season now, going into 2013, that the BCS rankings actually does not have Alabama as number 1. Did you see anything about that?
How's that possible?
That's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. One of the BCS computers actually did not factor in Alabama as number 1, and I thought it was a misprint. I thought it was like, is this April Fool's already? I mean, how could that be? I just. I wasn't able to double check on it, but I saw someplace, and I think it was basically the newspaper that said the BCS system. Good thing it's not going to be around anymore. The computers actually rate Notre Dame still at number 1, despite losing to Alabama.
That is, you know what? I'm looking at it right now. Final 2012 BCS rankings: Notre Dame number 1, Alabama number 2. I mean, come on.
Now wait a minute.
Seriously?
Yeah, but wait a minute. That's 2012 going into the.
Going in. I'm sorry.
So what we got to see is what the 2013 rankings are.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And whether they were just trying to keep people's attention with the article I read, or whether indeed they're out. And Alabama. Listen, there could be no other team at number. As a matter of fact, I don't think Notre Dame should be number 2. I think number 1 should be. Alabama, number 2, Georgia. You mentioned Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia. I mean, that was an exciting bowl. I mean, come on, man.
That doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to find it because you got me.
Well, while you look for that, let's slowly go into some baseball news here. First and foremost, we talked about this, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. About my friend Randy St. Clair. Well, it was made official the other day. Randy St. Clair indeed is the pitching coach for the new Mets AAA organization, which is part of the Pacific Coast League. It's called the Area 51s. It's going to be out in Las Vegas. And I think Wally Backman, is the coach of that team.
He is. Yep. I'm happy to see that. I've always been a fan of Wally Backman when he's a player, and he's a fiery coach. I like him a lot. I don't think anybody would, help the Mets right now, no matter who it is. You can bring back Casey Stengel, and they ain't gonna help the Mets. But I am glad to see that Wally is the coach.
And I'm glad that I'm kind of, it's kind of a torn thing for me and Randy. Being a friend of mine and everything. I wish nothing but the best, and I've always wished that he would be with the Mets organization. But I was kind of hoping it was going to be with the Mets. Not with a AAA team. He's been in the majors for the last decade or more, playing pitching coach. And he's kind of back down in AAA. I mean, that's the nature of the business. Like Randy said, hey, there's only 30 there's only 30 positions. I mean,
right.
In the majors for what he does. And I think, to be honest with you, though, Mike, and I'm not just tooting Randy's horn because we're buddies, but I think he's going to help the young pitchers we got in the AAA team, on the AAA level, and maybe ultimately. We may see a Randy St. Clair product move up to the majors at some point, whether it be towards the end of this year or early next year.
No, he's going to have obviously Zach Wheeler under his watch right now. So, and who else? Who knows? Like you said, he could find somebody down there and do what he did to who was the pitcher that he
Anibal Sanchez. Anibal
That's
Sanchez.
It.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
So listen, he's proven, and I know you said you wish he was up in the major leagues, but I think he'll do us more good right now, actually where he is right now.
What makes him so good? It's not only his mechanics teaching. Mentally he's a solid guy, and he works with a lot of these kids, and I call them kids because they are, and it's like. A lot of people forget that aspect of coaching today. Not that it really shouldn't be a requirement that you have to be part psychiatrist, but it's true. A lot of these kids were always the superstar of their teams, and all of a sudden they're in the minor leagues, and we've talked about this before with all levels of pro sports, and now you're thrown on a team with guys that are just as good as you, if not better, and that's the first mental thing that they have to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. The old saying, big fish in a small pond, and then you move on, you move up, and you're not that big fish anymore. A lot of people can't handle that.
You're right.
And if you have somebody like Randy who could, teach and explain and to nurture, that's a big plus. And then to let people know, listen, you're moving up. Now you're going to meet people as talented or have more talent than you. But you know what? You're going to get better, and you'll be right up there. So it's an important thing, and obviously Randy very well. So if he's good at this, it's just going to benefit the Mets organization in years to come. Yeah,
but then we look at the Mets organization. Yeah, they signed Randy, and that's great for him and his family, and it's good that we got him part of the organization. But what the hell are the Mets doing? I couldn't help but notice this signing earlier in the week. Cleveland Indians signed Scott Kazmir. Now we all know the deal with Scott Kazmir, right? I mean, this is a guy that basically was at the top one day and at the bottom the next. But we all see that this kid is I mean, he was a 3-time All-Star. I think he led the league in strikeouts one time and all of this stuff. They signed him to a minor league contract for nothing. He's 28 years old, Mikey. Why not the Mets? Why wouldn't to me, Scott Kazmir is a worthwhile risk, a small investment risk. The Cleveland Indians saw it. Why don't the Mets?
Well, they traded him. He was a package deal for I forget the guy's name. He blew his arm out right on the mound.
First year, right. No, I know it. And he went to the Rays. I know the deal and everything. And the Mets were criticized. They were crucified for that deal. And then the stuff happened with Kazmir and everything else. But you can't deny the talent of the guy. And when you're signing him to a minor league. Hey, we're talking about Randy St. Clair. Guess where you could have signed him to? I mean, the bottom line is, the Mets. We know that there's money. That we know that the organization is strapped money-wise, right? We know that they're looking to build the team for 2014. We know all of this. Then why not be smart and make some moves like this, where you take, the old saying in boxing, risk versus reward. It's the same thing in baseball. I mean, what risk do you have by signing a Scott Kazmir to a minor league contract the way the Indians did. I mean, to me, that was a smart move by the Tribe.
Absolutely. But this is Sandy Alderson's team, and maybe I'm just thinking out of the box. I'm thinking what he's thinking. He doesn't want to step backwards and start taking players that the Mets rejected before.
He's 28 years. He's 28 years old. He's not 41.
But, no, absolutely. I don't know. I can't answer that. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with. Because Sandy's probably just saying, you know what? No, we're moving ahead. That deal has been done.
That's stupid. It's stupid. And look at some of the other moves that are happening recently over with the Brewers. They sign a reliever, Mike Gonzalez, who's another young. He's in his early 30s, but they got him for a 1-year deal for a little over $2 million. I think it's $2.25 million. I mean. You're talking about bargain basement shopping, right? Yeah, you try to get guys that are good. I mean, here's a guy that wasn't a bad player. Neither. And what about the lefty J.P. Howell that the Dodgers just signed? They got him for under $3 million for a 1-year deal. He's 29 years old. He threw just slightly over a 3.04 ERA last year. I mean, again, bargain basement shopping. This guy's not shopping right. With the Mets though, Mike, I want to see moves. I want to see moves.
You don't know if they made offers. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. And listen, if I'm a player and I have a chance to go to the Dodgers or the Mets, where am I going? I'm going to L.A.
All right. That's a good point.
No,
you're right. You're right there. But I don't see them making any moves. I don't see them negotiating. We don't. Well, you're right. It's just that it's frustrating to watch the Mets do nothing. Or listen, you know what they did? They got rid of R.A. Dickey and they signed your hero David Wright to a long-term deal. And the thing is that that's it. We haven't heard another thing. The Mets haven't done anything since then, Mike.
No, you're right. I can't argue that. They haven't. And what concerns me is the outfield. Scott Hairston is still hanging out there, and they haven't tried to. They want to lock him up, and they want him to play for the Mets, but there's some interest from the Yankees. So if you're Scott Hairston, what do you do? If I have interest in the Yankees or the Mets, why might I come back to Flushing at this point?
Not
that the Yankees are. I think the Yankees got their own problems, but you don't know. You don't know what these players are thinking. Listen, if you're a baseball player, you want to go to the Mets. I mean, you have a choice.
No, and the Yankees at least, regardless of the trouble that they may or may not face coming into the season, at least we know one thing about the New York Yankees. Mm-hmm. They always try to build a World Series winner. They don't talk about we're going to be good in 2014, mark my words. They don't talk about stuff like that. Whether, like you say, behind closed doors, they're thinking that, they never say that stuff. They try to field a competitive World Series caliber team every year, no matter what the cost. And the Mets, okay, poo-poo, that we all cry about the financial situation, but you know what? They owe it to the fans, especially in the market of New York, to try to field a team that's going to be competitive. And lack of moves, if you want to sell me your idea that, not you, but the Mets want to sell me the idea that they're building for 2014, then I want to see some dice being rolled. I want to see some young talent, that borderline young talent, like a Scott Kazmir maybe on the Mets, or J.P. Howell that went to the Dodgers. I mean, these kinds of guys is what you need to shop for. This $2 million or less. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. We're gonna end up with the same sorry ass team we had this year.
Yeah, but you knew that at the end of the season. You knew we were going to end up with the same team this year, basically. And let's be fair. What great moves have the Yankees made this offseason? If anything, the Yankees have cut payroll, and the Yankees are hell bent on getting under the luxury tax by 2014. You know they're not going to go over the luxury tax. It was 189, 169, whatever it is. So the Yankees have basically taken a page out of the Mets book, and they didn't sign Hamilton, who was the big fish. Now, if George is around, do you think Hamilton would be wearing pinstripes? Yeah, absolutely. But he went to the California Angels. So I mean, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here. The Yankees really haven't been spending a lot of money. They really haven't done anything this offseason, if you think about it.
Well, they scheduled A-Rod's hip surgery for January 16th.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that team's in trouble. I mean, if anything, everybody around them got stronger. Everybody. Boston dumped a lot of salary but picked up some good players. Baltimore, I think they pretty much stayed the same. We all know what Toronto did. Toronto took everybody from Miami. I mean, if anything, in that division, the Yankees did the least.
Yeah, well, it ain't over yet. And,
no, but it's pretty much. I mean, the winter meetings are over now. So
I know. Think about it. Spring training is going to be starting in less than a month, right?
Yeah, pitchers and catchers, less than a month. But listen, what the Mets are doing is not a shock. It doesn't surprise me, and this is his plan, meaning Sandy Alderson's plan, is that 2014 is quote unquote that'll be his team. He's getting rid of all the mess that with Omar Manaya's dealings, and this is his plan, and we knew this going in.
Hey, Omar at least fielded competitive teams. His weakness was having a bench, So I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, and listen, if you're given a budget, if I work for you and you tell me this is your budget, that's it. What do you want the guy to do? Seriously, I mean, it's not him.
I want him to shop and try and get bargain deals.
Well, I think he's trying to do that, and he's going to get bargain deals because he can't spend money. He's going to, dumpster dive.
Yeah, but he's going to actually be right, dumpster dive. He's going to be picking up garbage, and overpaying. That's what's going to end up happening. The thing about baseball, at least what I've seen in the last 10 years. The teams that strike quickly when the season is over usually end up with the better players. The longer you wait, you may be able to get a stud or something, but you usually overpay. So for a guy that's been crying about, keeping within a budget and we're building for 2014 and all of that stuff, he's certainly not making moves quick enough, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, moves with a limited budget quick enough. I mean, his hands are pretty much tied. Now, I will say this. I do know they have interest in trading for Justin Upton, the Diamondbacks outfielder. So I know there have been talks about that. Listen, they might shock you. They might trade and get Justin Upton. I mean, would that make you happy?
Yeah, but a lot of things. Listen, I don't know who can make me happy right now. But
it's not going to make it's not going to make. Now the Mets are contenders because they got Justin Upton.
Exactly,
No.
Exactly. And here's the negative side of going for a Jason Upton. You give up the young prospects that you're trying to build, that you're leaning on. So listen, I don't have anything against moving the young guys up. I've said this time and time again. Listen, if you weren't going to bring in any other talent, then damn it, they should have kept R.A. Dickey. I mean.
No. I mean, I agree with the Dickey trade because listen, he's getting up there in age. Not that his skills are going to drastically decline, because I don't think they are. And I think now that he's pitching in the American League and they haven't seen a lot of R.A. Dickey, I think he's going to have a really successful year now. But if your goal is to build towards the future, well, you got two really good prospects. And yes, they are just prospects, but sometimes you have a can't miss. Like a guy like Andrew Luck, he was a can't miss. Well, this guy, Travis Denard from the catcher that we got from Toronto, I think he's going to be a solid player. Is he going to be an all-star every year? I don't know. But as far as the trade, I have no problems with that trade whatsoever, because having R.A. Dickey on the team this year, it was not going to make a difference. And if I know that their plan is to get youth and to get younger and to go after, then listen, then I thought the trade was a good trade. And before you talk about trading these young guys to get a guy like Justin Upton, I'm telling you right now, Zach Wheeler is untouchable. Matt Harvey is untouchable. Travis Denard is untouchable. I mean, they have guys that are definitely untouchable.
Well, they have some good guys that we don't know. Their infielders have been very good. They do have. Listen, the Mets farm system isn't bad, and it always has been pretty good. And the thing is this last decade they've pretty much made some bad moves with getting some of this youth out of there and picking up older players that didn't pan out. They're being forced to harvest their homegrown players right now, which is a good thing. But you need to sprinkle in a couple of other people. I don't know. Well, listen, you're right. I'm hard on them, but I'm still uptight over the Reyes deal and the fact that they chose to keep David Wright over Jose Reyes. I will never understand that one ever. But
I think you're still upset about the Nolan Ryan deal, to be honest with you.
Well, that just happened like a couple of years ago. I also think they should have never gotten rid of Tom Seaver either, but that's another story. Or my man Dwight Gooden, to see him in pinstripes was nauseating. Dude, what do you think of the Hall of Fame situation with the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Didn't surprise me at all.
Nobody, though, right? No one's getting
nobody.
In?
First time in a long time that's happened where nobody's getting in.
Is that the first time ever?
No, it's happened before. 1936 or whatever it was, but it has happened.
Oh, when you were going to high school, right?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, we all know Bonds, Clemens, Sosa. I mean, the list is on and on. I mean, these guys, they've known to, did the steroids. Piazza, I would have liked to see Mike get in, especially as a Met. But there still is that little cloud of suspicion over Mike.
What, that he was gay?
That he was gay? Our writers who vote Bill Madden and John Harper, and they said, look, Bill Madden basically said, look, I just want to give it a little more time. He doesn't – listen, Bill Madden will never, ever vote anybody into the Hall of Fame that has known to have done performance-enhancing drugs. He will never do it. And, also keep in mind that a lot of these guys, they won't vote somebody in just on the first ballot. They'll say, you know what, his time will come. He'll eventually get in, and that's their frame of thinking. But Piazza, he'll make it one day. I mean, he got like 58%, something like that, and you need 75. So you give Piazza, if he stays, if his name is never released, you give him another 2 years, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. Craig Biggio was his first year, and he got like 68% of the vote. I mean, here's a guy with 3,000 hits. However, people say, well, why isn't Craig Biggio in the Hall of Fame? Well, because, his season was like 20 years, and they call him a quote-unquote compiler. So, he just lasted that long. He stayed healthy, and, it took him 20 years to get 3,000 hits, where it takes a quote-unquote, a Hall of Famer less than that. So eventually, he'll probably get in next year. Person I was most disappointed, to be honest with you, was Jack Morris. I think Jack Morris should have been in years ago. I mean, this is his 14th year of eligibility. Jack Morris, man, this guy was a workhorse. Where most pitchers, nowadays they're out in the 5th, 6th inning. I mean, Jack Morris averaged like 8-point-something innings every time he pitched. Every time he stepped on the mound, this guy was going at least 8 innings. And you want to talk about statistics? Look at his playoff statistics. The guy who was better. So I was, I really would like to see. I mean, if you're going to put Burt Blyleven in, then Jack Morris needs to be in as well. As far as everybody else, I really don't want Clemens or Bonds to ever see the Hall of Fame, and that's just me. And you know what? And if you ever found out that a person did performance-enhancing drugs, I say take their plaque off the wall. That's me.
Well,
I know you probably can disagree with that, but if you cheated, take your plaque off the wall.
Well, I agree about the cheating. 100%. The thing that bothers me the most about the Baseball Hall of Fame is Pete Rose. I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
And the issue about the gambling, I understand. I get it. All right. However, if the guy gambled on the Reds to lose, and he was the manager, and he put the worst pitcher he has on his staff in that game, and he pinch hits at the most critical time with the guy that couldn't hit the side of a barn with a bat, and you have proof that he bet on his team to lose, I would agree that he should never be allowed in the Hall of Fame. However, the only proof that they ever had of him betting on his own team in baseball was to win. And this guy was a winner. I don't think that they should put this emphasis on him. He is the all-time leading hits guy. He was the example for young players and stuff to always run out your hits and all of that stuff. This is a guy that somebody had the heart on for him, and they're just respecting each other and carrying it through, and they're going to wait for this poor bastard to drop dead, and then they're going to put him in. He's going to get in. When you see guys like, listen, no disrespect, but Ty Cobb and was one of the most prejudiced. He used to spit on people and never, forget about blacks. He didn't have, he played before then, anyway, didn't he? Ty Cobb played before blacks were allowed in the league, but he thought it was a joke. He was known for being prejudiced, and they're in. I don't know, man. I don't know. It bothers me that Rose is not in. As far as the steroid use, I agree with you. The only thing I'm going to say is that the 80s, the era of the 80s, when steroids kind of first hit the scene, so to speak, or at least when we started knowing about them, I think that there's so much more knowledge about them today, like what, how they can help a player and what the, how to do it, how to beat the system. In other words, if you're taking a steroid and you are taking it in a manner in which you're trying to beat the test, that's knowingly cheating, right? But if you took a steroid that you were not educated about, and some trainer said, hey, try this, wait till you see how good you can hit the ball, or wait till you see how long you can run without getting tired, and then they're like, oh, yeah, this stuff was good, and really not knowing what they were doing, I think that those guys do deserve a sense of, I didn't know, like Vinny Barbarino would say, I didn't know about it, and get away with it for a certain time, not if you did it over and over and over, but I don't know, that's just my feeling about that. I agree, the most sacred records of all, Barry Bonds, obviously Sammy Sosa, these guys broke when they were on, steroids, and they should be scratched. Those records should be scratched totally. But then again, the naysayers are going to say, hey, they never were convicted. They never admitted it.
Well, I kind of disagree with what we said about, the I don't know factor. Because if a trainer gives me something, I'm going to first thing I'm going to ask, before I put anything in my body, I'm going to say, what is it? What are you giving me? And then I'm going to ask, well, is it legal? I don't buy the I didn't know factor. I don't buy and name one guy that's been associated with steroids that you feel, that you believe really, oh, I didn't know. Seriously. Clemens, Bonds, who? Tell me. I don't think there's anybody you can name. You give Palmeiro. Who is somebody you can say, you'll give him a pass because of the I didn't know factor? I don't think you can name one.
No, I can't. And as much as I wasn't, listen, Roger Clemens, and I read an interesting interview with Pete Rose. And he says, of all the guys, he says, I'm friends with all these guys, so it's not like I want to knock anybody or anything. He says, but of all the guys that he thinks may get in and whatever is Roger Clemens. And he said, I don't think Roger Clemens was doing anything in his career except for maybe, and this is kind of crazy, but he said except for maybe at the end to keep him in the game, so to speak. And he never did admit it. Nobody's ever proved it. So at this point in time, Roger Clemens is saying, no, I never did steroids, and there's really no proof that he did. We know that there was proof for what's his name, Barry Bonds. We knew that. We knew that there was proof for the guys that, looked in the camera, Palmero. Read my lips. I have never taken steroids, Monday morning. The test results are in. Palmero took steroids, come on. Those guys, Mark McGuire admitted it, obviously, Kinsenko, the snitch, he opened up all those doors. So yeah, you admit it and you just slit your wrist,
Yeah, I mean, and getting back to the other players that were on that list, there's one other player that I think that should be in, and this guy had nothing. He was not even in the steroid era, and that's Fred McGriff. And if you look at Fred McGriff's numbers, not only was he an outstanding first baseman defensively, but the guy had 493 home runs. He had a respectable batting average at 284. I mean, I don't understand why this guy is only getting 20% of the vote. That doesn't make sense to me.
Because he wasn't that popular of a player. It's popularity contest with these Hall of Fames now. It really is.
That's a shame because those numbers, to me, are Hall of Fame worthy numbers.
How about McGee?
Who? Willie McGee?
Yeah, you think? Yeah. What about a McGee?
Well, McGee was a singles hitter. He was a slap hitter.
Right,
I mean,
but he was a base stealer too, and he stole a lot of bases, didn't he? Willie McGee.
Yeah, he was a base stealer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like him, is he a Hall of Famer?
No. I mean, you look at a guy you're talking about, around the same era, Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie Smith, oh yeah.
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but Ozzie got in for his defense basically. Oh. So I don't know. Like you said, it is a popularity contest, and nowadays with the steroids, it just changes everything. And like I said, these guys will probably. I don't even think Clemens will get in. I don't, maybe when these writers that are voting now, maybe when these guys their time is done and they're they pass on or whatever, and a new generation of writers, the younger guys that saw Bonds and grew up with these guys, maybe it'll change years from now.
Let me ask you a question about steroids. I was talking to John from LDL TV. Now, obviously, give a shout out to LDL TV. They air the show, and we're thankful for that. And I was in an extensive conversation with him yesterday about steroids, and I said, you know what, John? I said I wouldn't be surprised that if someday they make steroids okay for professional athletes because it evens the play. Go ahead, you want to inject something that makes you bigger, faster, stronger. Go ahead. What do you think about that? You think it would ever be legal?
No, I don't think it would ever be legal. And especially, in football, you hear of a person, suspended because of performance-enhancing drugs. You don't even bat an eye, because football, it's all about, it's a brute force. It's a who could be the biggest or strongest. With baseball, it's all about the sacred records. You know what I'm saying? If I say to you, 714 or 61, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And to be honest with you, those are the guys that I still look at as holding the record. Same thing. It took me a long time. As much as I love Walter Payton, it took me a long time to accept the fact that he broke Jim Brown's record. And then you got players that broke Walter Payton's record. So you're right. You're right, 100%.
I mean, put it in boxing. I mean, would you're a big boxing guy. Would you want to see fighters legally taking performance enhancing drugs?
No, I don't.
Right.
The thing is that what bothers me is that there's certain athletes out there, for whatever reason, whether it's the pressure of winning or whatever, that would knowingly, try to cheat and get away with it, and then raise their hand, when they won the World Series or won the championship fight or whatever. That's what bothers me. And the only reason why I asked that stupid question, which, I know it was a stupid question, but there's going to come a time when there's so much money involved, and these human beings are going to be looked upon as robots, and this is entertainment, man. We want to see the guy that never gets tired and everything else. Obviously baseball doesn't want to see it. They expanded the performance enhancing drugs blood testing for this upcoming season. They said that they're going to be doing an increased effort to test randomly during the season. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, they're testing now for HGH,
yeah.
which they didn't do before, and now they're going to, like you said, test blood randomly. So I think it's a great thing. And getting back to your question, it doesn't just make you stronger and faster, but put in boxing. Let's say Marquez took steroids. I'm just, there's no proof he did.
No, because they didn't test for it. But yeah,
obviously,
there's no proof that he did, except
exactly what they were testing for, so they can give him something else.
Yeah, but listen, Mikey, there was no proof that he took it because number one, they didn't test it, and the only proof is if you watch the fight and see that you could have hit him with a sledgehammer and nothing was affecting him, But whatever, go ahead, finish
that's
it.
My point.
Right.
That's my point. It doesn't only put the fighter that he's fighting at risk, he puts himself in major risk.
Yes. Because
he'll be able to take more punishment and will do more damage later on in life. He'll be able to sustain, he'll have more energy. The punch that he takes to the face, it won't be as bad. He won't feel it as much because he's on these steroids. And so he's not only affecting his opponent, but he's doing more damage to himself.
No, that's a great point. But the thing is, a lot of these athletes today, they don't care. They don't care the repercussions. Lyle Alzado admitted it 20 years ago. Look what they just confirmed with Junior Seau. They just confirmed that that his brain showed that he had the CTE, which is whatever, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, blah 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 blah. But
I had a feeling you just kept
CTE. Yeah, I was just going to say CTE. Yeah, I know. But that was an amazing way of how they proved it. I don't know if you read the whole thing about that or followed it, but they gave these doctors several brains and did not identify which brain was which. And his brain, after they inspected it, was identical to the other brains that they took that were, sustained multiple blows to the head, which is what CTE is. But my only question about it is how come more boxers don't suffer from it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking about the same thing. I'm thinking over a career. It's you're not just hitting your head, but just every time you tackle, you're jolting yourself. If I tackle a guy and he hits me in the chest, okay, my head is still getting rattled.
Good point.
And
maybe even worse.
Over a career, these guys, their heads are getting rattled more than a fighter.
You're right, and their spines too, right?
Yes, absolutely. And when you talk about the CTE, it's the same thing that they found in Mike Webster, the great center for the Steelers, Andre Waters. It's there, and you can't hide it. It's a fact. And like you said, they gave him this brain to study. They didn't tell him it was Junior Seau's, and it turned out that Junior Seau's brain, suffered from CTE.
They didn't say it was his, but it was wearing his jersey out there. No.
Yeah, came in with his
jersey. Came in with his That's terrible. You shouldn't.
But
Why do you do that
that's
for
you.
me?
That wasn't me. But you know what? Here's the question: what do you do about it? You know, what are you going to stop playing football?
Right.
I mean,
No,
it is
not.
what it is.
They
I
all admit that they would.
game.
I would say they will all admit that they would hide the concussion from the coaches. They all admit it.
Yeah, I mean, just who's our quarterback on the Jets there, the backup?
McElroy.
Yeah, he lied.
I know.
He lied. He had a chance to play.
Well, you know what would have given that one? You know what would have made? They should have realized it when they kept peeling him up off the turf that day. You know,
11 sacks that day. It was ridiculous.
Oh, listen, you know, we'll talk about the Jets in a second, but you know, I mean, the bottom line is you could say what you want. As a matter of fact, we're approaching the second hour, so let's start some football talk now. A lot of moves going on. I said earlier I was shocked about the Bears getting rid of Lovie Smith, but you know, I'm sure he's going to find another place. We all know that the Eagles' former coach is now the coach of the Chiefs. What do you think of that?
You know, I thought it was like quick. You know, if I'm Andy Reid, me personally, I'm taking some time off. You know, just
you can't though, man.
A lot of stuff going on in his life.
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, I know, especially with his son and everything.
Passing away. I mean, you know, I might just take a year off if I'm Andy Reid, but maybe he needs it to keep his mind occupied. I don't know. That being said, does it make this team a better team? Will it be a well-coached team? I mean, talent is talent.
They had the talent. This year, this year they fell apart. I think he went with a good fit for him and his style. And you're right. Maybe he needs this so that he doesn't harp on some of the other things going on in his life. What I am surprised at, Mikey, is that the two top names that aren't coaching, that haven't coached, that are constantly dragged in. I mean, you know, rumors of eventually being a Jet coach and many other teams, of course, goes with John Gruden, who does the Monday night stuff, and the guy from the Steelers,
Bill Cowher.
Those two are the leading guys. Everybody wants those guys. You know, when Parcells retired, that's when everybody wanted Bill Parcells. You know, and it's the same thing. You know, you got Bill Cowher and John Gruden topping the list, but nobody's signed him yet. Do they really want to get back into this or what?
Well, Cowher did say that he will coach again eventually.
But he wants all control. He wants all control, just like Andy Reid got. Right,
exactly. So he will coach again. It's just not the time. He doesn't want to do it right now.
How old is he? John Gruden, how old is Cowher?
Well, if Gruden is 49,
yeah, Gruden. I was going to say Gruden.
At least.
I got to have several years over John Gruden, and Bill Cowher. Yes, you think he's in his early 50s?
I would think so. Gruden is 49.
Yeah,
I
know.
Don't have that many years over him.
Well, I got 3 years over him.
You know, it's not a lot.
Well, look at it this way. You know, 3 years. I was a senior when he was a freshman in high school. That's a big difference at that time. You know.
Well, at that time, but now it's
because
it's nothing.
You know, when you get to be 60 and 70, when you hear somebody dies at 90, he died young. You know, I mean, come on.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
when you're 20 and somebody dies at 40, you don't think nothing of it. You know, it's only when you start getting older. You know, how many people, you know, you talk to somebody and, you know, they're 75. Oh, did you hear so-and-so died? Yeah, he was only 85. You know, only 85. I mean, come on. You know.
Bill was 55. So I said mid 50s. So yeah, he's got 6 years on Gruden. Here's my thing about Bill. I mean, if I had a choice, I'm taking Bill Cowher. You want full control, you want take it. I mean, the guy consistently won in the NFL.
What was it? 8 in a row? 8 playoffs in a row that he brought the team. Was it 7?
Something like that,
7 or 8 from his first year as a coach in a row. I think somebody just broke his record or something. I don't know. I heard
2
something.
AFC championships, a Super Bowl 2005. His winning percentage was .623.
Oh, speaking of that, did you hear not of his winning percentage, but did you hear that Jerome Bettis was one of the finalists for the NFL Hall of Fame? It was just announced last night. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, man. What do you think?
No, I don't. I don't think he'll I don't think he's going to get in. There's another guy I just compiled numbers, over the years. I will get into that. I mean, there's obviously Parcells and Strahan are on the list.
Strahan shouldn't get in. Come on.
I don't know. I think he.
Yeah,
might.
he's going to get in because of the publicity. Because listen. When you're popular, you get in. When you're
he's
popular,
definitely a media darling. There's
come
no doubt about
on.
it.
He's
but
on,
he had a long career.
Too long.
1993 to 2007.
Don't make me relive it. Don't make me relive Brett Favre falling down and giving him the record. I can't stand it. Can't stand that.
So let's say he didn't give him the record. He still had 21 sacks that year.
Okay.
I mean, the guy he had 141 sacks over his career.
I would give him more respect. I'd vote for him if they didn't give him that. If they didn't steal that from Mark Gastineau. And the thing about Gastineau, which is the key here, is that everyone hated him. Even half of his team hated him.
Klecko couldn't stand him.
Nobody helped him get a friggin' sack. And everybody did what they could to help Strahan, including the opposing team. I hate that. That was the most sickening thing. One of the most sickening things I've ever seen. Aside from watching a press conference with your hero Rex Ryan. But speaking of the Jets,
don't you dare,
Mike Petine, or however you say Petitine, Petitine. How do you say it? Pettin. Is that all? I thought it was Pentine or something, but
no, you're reading too much into it. Too many vowels.
Too many letters. It's one of those names that you just all the letters are silent.
That's it.
Oh, okay. But Patton, he was fired as a defensive coordinator. Rex says
he was fired.
Well, he chose not to come back.
He chose not to come back, right?
But he's already hired. He's with the Bills right now. I thought that was kind of weird that the Jets let him go because the defense did play well this year. I know that Ryan is a defensive-minded coach, but the guy that they're talking about replacing him with, the Jets I'm talking about, was the internally. And then I heard rumor that he might want to bring his brother over there. What's going on?
No, that ain't gonna happen.
Why?
His brother's close to signing with the Rams.
Why wouldn't they bring that circus? I mean, come on, talk about a circus. How about the Ryan family with the Jets?
Oh,
man?
you can't. It's not going to happen. And like I said, Rob Ryan is close to signing with the Rams as their.
Why wouldn't the Jets get him though? You think?
Why?
I mean, just curious. You think Rex wouldn't want it, or you think the team wouldn't want it? I mean, I'm just curious because he is regarded as a good defensive coordinator.
Well, I don't think he did a great job in Dallas.
Well, he had a lot of injuries, but he definitely does the same system as Rex. You know, the Buddy Ryan system. Why wouldn't Rex want his brother as the defensive coordinator?
I don't know. Maybe that's something that Woody said. Look, let's stay away from your brother.
Does Woody know anything? Does Woody know the difference
Woody
between?
Know anything.
Does
Woody,
he know?
does
he know the difference between a baseball and a football?
Well, evidently no.
And go ahead. Let's get into it. Rex Ryan, basically after this year, after all the stupid things that have come out of his mouth, after the stupid decisions this guy makes, how's he treated by Woody? He ends up. He's picking the GM of the team. I don't understand that, Mike. Can you please explain to me why they would let the coach have input in who they're going to be choosing as a GM? Why not make him the GM? Why not make him take the GM duties? I don't get it. I don't understand. Explain to me, please.
I can't. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in professional sports, that the head coach has now got say in his boss, who his boss is going to be. He has say. That it's absurd. It's absurd. And mark my words, number one, you're not going to get any GM worth his weight in gold to take this job if Rex Ryan has say in picking. Do you think? Look, Caldwell, who's just picked up by the Jaguars. I mean, this guy's a no-nonsense guy. Yeah, he didn't come here. You think he was going to put up with this nonsense?
Well, look what
he chose Jacksonville.
And look what he did.
New York.
And look what he did. First words out of his mouth is, "You will never see Tim Tebow."
That's it.
Yeah, you know,
That's
and like the reporter even said, "Could you repeat what you just said?" You know, he was shocked, and he said, "You will never see him. He just does not fit into the NFL. And
there's no scenario he can see that would bring Tim Tebow to Jacksonville.
I can't imagine a scenario in which he'll be a Jacksonville Jaguar, even if he's released, was his exact comment.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
And he will be released.
Well, of course he will. The thing is this, if it looks to me that the Jets will probably promote the assistant GM if Rex has a say. But my big question is, because, that makes the most sense. Like you said, nobody's going to come to the organization when the coach is going to help decide your fate. And by the way, does that mean that some of these ridiculous draft picks and some of the these players that take 5 years to develop wasn't all Tattlebaum? That maybe some of it had to do with Rex? I mean, are we to assume that now?
All of it had to do with Rex. Why Rex Ryan is still the head coach is mind-boggling.
I could see why he's still the head coach, but to give him more power, I don't know. And what about him saying, hey, the reason why our offense couldn't work this year is because we didn't have Holmes. I was shocked that he would fuel that guy, one of the biggest negatives in the locker room, why he would give that guy any more juice to make him think who the hell he is. And that's exactly the wrong stuff you want to feed to a guy like Holmes.
Right, and you know what else he said? He says, Holmes was on his way to
a career season.
90 catches, 1,200 yards.
I know.
And he makes this statement after what? How many games did Holmes play?
1,
3, 4. That's like if I'm a baseball player and my first game of the season I hit 3 home runs. And then I go down the second game. He was on pace to hit 485 home runs.
I know.
I mean, come on.
I know.
What a jerk.
Listen, man.
Jerk.
He's losing a lot of Jet fans, and the thing is that he's not making the right moves. The Jets are in trouble, and you watch. Matt Cavanaugh didn't come back either. He was the Jets coach. They virtually wrote in every write-up about Cavanaugh, they said he was responsible for the development of Mark Sanchez. Bam! There's your scapegoat for Mark Sanchez. There's your justification that they're going to keep him as a quarterback. All of that stuff. Tony Sprono, why did they even wait a couple of days to get rid of him? He was the worst offensive coordinator. If he ever gets a job in the NFL again, let me ask you, will he work in the NFL again as a coordinator? As anything? Will he sell popcorn in the NFL games? Where does Tony Sprono go from here?
Well, there is no way he'll ever work as an offensive coordinator again. I mean, he's failed miserably twice at that. His only shot is somebody wants to give him a head coaching job.
Why?
Which, he did a decent job.
Why? How?
Miami.
Come on.
I'm just saying. He's got a better shot at – I'm not hiring him. I'm just saying he's got a better shot at being a head coach than a coordinator. He'll never be a coordinator. Maybe he'll be a linebacker coach or this, but something low on the scale. But if you're asking me, does he have a shot at being an offensive coordinator? No, he's got a better shot at being a head coach, which I don't think he will be.
Right.
But that's how bad of an offensive coordinator. That's my point.
You know how bad he is? I read an article that John Madden said he's not even allowed to buy one of his games. That's how bad he is.
That's great.
But listen,
that's a great line.
Rob Chudnisky was hired as the Browns. I have this soft spot for the Browns ever since my boy went over there. You know how I feel about Trent Richardson, but and I kind of like the Browns. I like the way they played, and this is a team with virtually no quarterback. I'm not impressed with their roster. Is this guy going to help them? I mean, he was with the Carolina Panthers, who actually came on strong at the end of the year, but they really haven't done anything under his guidance. Offensively, and now he's the Browns head coach. I really thought one of those big names should have went to the Browns. I don't know, man. I think the Browns are a verge of being a top team. I really do.
Well, they're definitely closer to being a top team than the Jets are, and I might be switching colors pretty soon. I got to find a new team. Will he help? I think so. I mean, he did okay with the offense in Carolina here. He did. Cam had obviously a great rookie year, and last year, like you said, they came on strong towards the end, and they got 7 wins, which was a 1 win better than the year before, and that's what saved Rivera's job. So yeah, I think he'll do well. I think he's a Cleveland guy. As a matter of fact, it was a team that he grew up watching, or his favorite team. So yeah, I think he'll do well.
RG3, I picked the Redskins to make the playoffs as a sleeper team. I don't have our stuff in front of me, but I know I was pretty. The only team I don't think I picked was the Seahawks, but I think I got every other team. No, I didn't pick the Colts either. I didn't pick the Colts, but I thought Washington had a chance. There's a lot of talk now about RG3 and letting him play too long and everything else. I thought it was sad. It was obvious. Even when I was watching that game, even the backup quarterback was yelling at the coordinator. He's going, "Look at him. The guy can't walk. Should I put my helmet on? Should I warm up?" And they just refrained from doing it. He found out that they had the injury, he had the surgery. They all feel optimistic. But, one thing I didn't know, and maybe it was just something I just was stupid. I never realized it, that RG3 had the same exact knee injury 2 years ago that he came back from and won the Heisman. And then, this could have been career-ending, And now I'm starting to say to myself, maybe these guys are right. This style quarterback is just not suited for the NFL. He's too small. We saw it with our own guy, McElroy, getting slammed to the turf and ending up with a concussion. The 6'1" guy, there are exceptions, a guy from Seattle, but, generally that 6'1" guy, I think he's become too small in the NFL, Mike.
No, I disagree. If RG3 knew how to slide, okay, this wouldn't be happening. Okay, do you see Drew Brees getting pummeled? Do you see Wilson on Seattle getting pummeled?
Yeah, but Drew Brees, they don't slide. But they call offensive plays with RG running. That's the difference. Drew Brees and even the kid from Seattle. Well, that's not true. The kid from Seattle, they do have running draw plays and stuff like that. But very rarely do you see a guy like Drew Brees, get his number called, unless it's a diving for a first down. I mean, he'll improvise and run and scramble and slide, yes. But RG3 and some of these other quarterbacks that run, their numbers being called on the play, man. And a guy that small is going to get destroyed.
Okay, but you're not calling a running play with RG3 and he's running up the middle into the line of fire. Okay, all his running plays are option plays. He fakes the handoff and he runs to the outside. When you get to the outside, either run out of bounds or slide. Why can't you still do that?
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay, that's why I'm saying he doesn't do that. And the guy's small. 6'1", he's still bigger than a guy like Wilson or Breeze, but you know what? He's thin.
Yeah, he's
small. So thin. That's
he's Michael Vick. He's a Michael Vick.
Yeah, and look at Michael Vick, another guy. He didn't know how to slide, and he got pounded.
Well, there's a lot of guys that didn't know how to slide, and yes, they got pounded. I tell you one thing. I love RG3. I love him, and when I watched him, it was like the first series of the game, and they ran him. It was exactly that play that you just said. It was an option play, and he ran to the outside. And even the announcers were like, you can tell. If you've ever watched RG3, he does not have that burst. A linebacker ran him down and everything else. From that point on, Shanahan should have said, okay, we're either going to protect this guy, keep a running back in there to protect him, don't have him run, or sit him down. It was stupid. I understand the pressure; they had to win and all of that. But man, with the extent of that injury, could conceivably, this guy could never be the same again. We don't know. The rehab on this is going to take him into summer training, spring training.
Yeah, my thought on this whole thing is after they were up 14 to nothing, you saw his knee. He was limping then. Okay, he goes to Shanahan, or Shanahan goes to him. How you feel? Oh, I want to play. I'm feeling fine. I want to play. Well, number one, what do you expect him to say?
Right.
Okay, rookie, playoff game, hype. What do you? Any competitor is going to want to compete, okay? But you don't have the final say, okay? Mike Shanahan, okay, he has the final say. He needs. It's just like in boxing. Fighter wants to go out and fight, and sometimes no, the manager or the trainer protects the fighter and to fight another day.
That's your choice. Your choice of words is 100% correct, and I agree with you. You need to make the decision for your athlete. Your athlete listen. If your athlete's telling you, you know what, coach, I just can't do it. I don't have it in me today. That means that he's going to look for an excuse to get out of it, regardless of how severe his injury is. But you got to make that decision for him, and I agree. I think Shanahan blew that one, and I love Shanahan. I really do. I think that team needed him.
No, yeah, I have no problem with Shanahan as the coach, but in this particular situation, okay, even if you don't pull him, okay, do what you said. You know, keep somebody back there to protect him. That's number one. Number two, here's my question. This is the biggest question. Why is Kyle Shanahan calling running plays when the guy is obviously limping? That doesn't make any sense to me. You put him in harm's way even more. That doesn't make any sense.
Your starting quarterback starts the game with a knee brace. That means
you call running plays.
Right. That means let's feed him the ball. What kind of ridiculous statement is that? That is you're right. You're right. And sometimes you wonder about these guys. And I read an article actually by one of our own writers who does a Florida report, and she's like, sending a message to RG. RG, think out for yourself, because all these guys are going to do. Their goal is to win. And although she was kind of writing, she was more of a fan of his. What she said was actually true, whether she meant it that way or not. The main focus in the NFL or any major league sport is to win. And, they're paying these guys, and that's the justification to put a guy like RG3 in harm's way. We paid him $1 gazillion. His job is to win football games, But the old saying, if you're not 100%, are you helping or hurting the team? They had a backup quarterback that won a very important game for them, and he was ready to play. He got the reps in practice. They needed to make the switch.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. You're talking about, they got the pressure to win. But, let's say they pulled him. They pulled him after the first quarter, and they put Kirk Cousins in. And let's say they lost the game. Okay, Daniel Snyder, the owner of the team, goes to Mike Shanahan. How come you pulled him? This is what I say to Daniel Snyder. I said, listen, I pulled him because this guy is a rookie. He is going to be on this team, 9, 10, 12, 13 years, whatever it is. Do you want to ruin his career now? And look, you gave up everything to get him. You traded up to get this guy. You gave up the kitchen sink. Your goal, your vision should not be just this game. Your vision with somebody like this should be long term. That had to be in the back of everybody's mind, even fans, everybody. You have to protect him long term. Okay, it's not like you have a backup quarterback in there, and you got to do whatever you got to do to win. You got a guy who is destined to be a star in this league. And then you're still calling running plays, and he's got a brace on? Seriously. How Kyle Shanahan is keeping his job is beyond me. If I'm the owner, because I know the father won't do it, but if I'm the owner, I'm going to say, I want your son fired. Well, bottom line. I think
it really shows that these guys, and getting back to a boxing analogy, I think that what separates good boxers from great boxers is their corner and the ability of their corner to make adjustments on the fly. Well, what Shanahan Jr. there showed is that he had to stick with the game plan he prepared with, and he wasn't ready to make a change, and that's foolish. That's poor. Well,
poor planning,
especially when the nucleus of that offensive game plan is not 100%, and he's wearing a brace, and he's obvious that he's limping around. He limped out when they introed him. He limped out when he He ran the first play of the game. He got hit. They claim he injured that knee 3 more times during that game. I mean,
it's
come
absurd.
on. I know.
It's absurd. Look, let's say, for argument's sake, let's say they won the game. Let's say they won the game. How is he going to play the next game?
Well, the truth of the matter is the damage was done.
Exactly.
The cartilage was already torn.
Even if you took him out in the first quarter, when he wasn't limping as bad, you still don't know how he's going to perform the next game. If they won the game, he's damaged goods. Damaged goods. He shouldn't have been playing after that first quarter.
No, I agree.
And you definitely should not have called one running play, and that's part of his game.
Well,
that's part of his game. Well, it's. I think it's terrible.
Well, we have a slew of this whole new generation of coaches and trainers and all this stuff. Really, I have to question it. It's just it's ridiculous. Hey, one quick question before we talk about the playoff games is the Cowboys. Yeah. We talked about them getting rid of Rob Ryan, but they hired Kiffin. I'm sorry. From Tampa Bay. Yeah. Now Monty Kiffin's been around for a long time. He's 71 or 72 years old. What's your thoughts about them hiring a guy in his 70s for a team like the Cowboys that there's so much pressure on?
You know what? Who's the coordinator on Pittsburgh? Really good defensive coordinator.
Oh, he's been around forever. Yeah, I think he's 75.
76.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say I thought he was 75.
I think it's fine. I mean, if you're in good shape and you got your faculties and everything, so what? You're 70, 71 years old.
I hardly have my faculties now. I'm 51.
I mean, not for nothing. My father got a physical for the first time in like 3 years, and the first thing the doctor said to him, he goes, "If I didn't read your chart, I would think you were 20 years younger." I mean, it's just how you take care of yourself, and not only that, Monty Kiffin is a damn good coordinator.
No, he's one of the best. I mean, you hear his name all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, is he better than Rob Ryan? Absolutely.
It's funny you say that. My father's going to be 74 years old, and he's he's one of these guys, old time Italian guy. He never goes to the doctor, never does this, never does that, right? He drinks about 3 or 4 pots of coffee a day. He's not a drinker, like he doesn't drink alcohol or anything. Maybe occasional drink with dinner, but and he doesn't smoke or anything like that. But here's a guy that drinks like literally himself 3 pots of coffee a day, has been eating nothing but red meat his whole life, the whole nine. As a matter of fact, he'll go to a deli and say, "Give me a BLT on a roll with, but could you hold? I want extra bacon, but could you hold the lettuce and tomato?" So basically, he wants a bacon sandwich, right? And just a guy that eats this stuff every day. He goes to the doctor recently. No high blood pressure, cholesterol is perfect. I'm like, what the hell? I gotta eat. I'm eating so much broccoli and cauliflower. I feel like I'm a rabbit. And I gotta take blood pressure medicine. So crazy stuff. Hey, let's talk about the games tomorrow first. I know it's a little backwards, but we got a couple of playoff games tomorrow. Atlanta and New England both had byes. I'm not a big bye guy. Now, you don't have to do your picks yet. We'll do those a little later. Let's just talk a little about the games themselves. New England is playing Houston. Now, Houston was your pick to, I think, win it all. I know you had them going. Now, you went against them for a couple of weeks now. They looked okay last week. Nothing crazy. I think they really look like exactly the team they are. And New England, the second half of the season, they just seem to separate themselves from the pack. And of all the teams that are playing now in the playoffs, I think New England could handle a bye week to their advantage, whereas I think some other teams like Atlanta may not. What's your thoughts on this matchup without doing your pick right now? What's your thoughts on the New England-Houston Texans matchup?
Well, as far as a team handling a bye week, when you have a coach like Bill Belichick, I don't think the bye week has any kind of effect on them whatsoever. This team will be prepared 100% to play this game. As far as the game itself, this team, Houston, is the team that went into New England a few weeks ago, excuse me, and was thoroughly embarrassed by Brady and then the Patriots. Listen, they're not playing well, meaning Houston. They're just that game, the wild card game was terrible. It was just a boring football game if you look at it.
But they're not hurt. They're not hurt though, right? I mean, they got their team intact.
No, they got their. I mean, they got their guys. I mean, nobody's. All their stars are healthy, but Matt Schaub hasn't been, worth his weight in gold since like week 14. I mean, he just hasn't been playing well. I don't know why, but the secondary, that's a cause of concern. They're not very good in the secondary, and then when you're facing a guy like Brady, well, you see what he can do to you. So, Houston was my pick to go to the Super Bowl, as was Green Bay, and it's going to be a tough battle for Houston. I don't think it'll be a blowout like last time, but it's going to be tough.
Now Atlanta is a different team at home, and they definitely played and got the home field advantage, and they will be home against Seattle tomorrow, and Seattle is a team that you did pick, and every time I look at Pete Carroll, I want to vomit. I don't know why. I loved him as a Jets coach. I was disappointed that they let him go so early. He was so successful as a defensive guy. He was successful at USC. But there's something about him now I'm not crazy about. I can't stand looking at the Seahawks uniforms. They are the most disgusting looking uniform I've ever seen. And yet, when you look at that team, you see a team that just seemingly has gotten better and better and better as each week of the season progressed. And now they're in there. They deserve to be in there. And they're playing a tough team in Atlanta. And I think that the bye week, where I don't think it's going to affect New England, I think it may affect Atlanta. What's your thoughts?
Well, like you said, they are a different team when they play at home. Matt Ryan is, 33-6, including the playoffs at home. I think Matt Ryan, out of all the quarterbacks, has the most pressure on him to win this game, because you've heard nothing but 0-3, 0-3, 0-3 since the playoff system was the teams were set up to see who was in the playoffs. That being said, Seattle did win a few big games on the road towards the end of the season. They won in Chicago, and obviously they won the playoff game in Washington, which, if you look at that game, I know we have the RG3 thing, but they pretty much dominated that game. And don't forget, they were on the verge of scoring a touchdown when Marshawn Lynch fumbled on the 1 yard line.
Right, and twice they were in the red zone that they came up.
That game was not as close as the score indicated. They dominated defensively and offensively. They ran over 200 yards on Washington. That being said, definitely a better front seven. They are facing a team with a better pass rush. Russell Wilson has been sacked quite a few times in his past couple of games in the end of the season, and they are facing like a guy like John Abraham, who had like 11 sacks on the season. So they are facing a better team. That also, don't forget their defense. Seattle's defense is probably one of the fastest defenses in football. Their corners are huge and fast as well, and they're taking on two tough receivers in Roddy White and Julio Jones. Going to be this is probably the toughest game to pick. I'm not going to give you my thought yet of who I'm taking, but it's definitely going to be the toughest game to choose from out of all the games.
Well, you better sweep me. You better start sweeping me, bro. But anyway, that's enough. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I tell you, any team that can't stop Seattle with those green chartreuse. I mean, you can see those guys. I mean, Teddy Atlas made a funny comment last night when one of the fighters had these chartreuse boxing shoes on. He says, "Well, it'll be good if the power goes out and we lose all the lights. We'll be able to see him." Well, that's the same thing with Seattle, man. If the power goes out and the lights get shut off at the stadium, you'll be able to see those guys running around. I mean, ugly stuff. Two big games today, obviously. Green Bay is going to be taking on my 49ers. Ironic stuff here with this matchup. I forgot all about the whole situation with Aaron Rodgers and the San Francisco 49ers. This kid grew up being a 49er fan his whole life, and he's sitting there expecting to get drafted by the 49ers on draft day, whatever it was, 8 years ago. And who did the 49ers pick? By the way, their backup quarterback today, Alex Smith, is who got chosen over Aaron Rodgers. And I talk about a discount double check. I mean, come on, But this is a tough game, and the 49ers haven't been playing the way I thought that they would, but yet they find themselves in this game. And I would be shocked if this game. Oh, but before I forget, and I almost forgot totally. Did you catch that Mike Singletary is actually going to be going back to the Bears as a coach?
Well, I mean, as a coach, I think Mike Singletary is a great coach.
Remember him as a 49ers
as a
coach?
head coach, I think he's terrible.
He's a lunatic.
Well, but if I'll take Mike Singletary.
Me
as a
too.
linebacker
I would take him.
any
I would take him as a coach. I like a guy that will do anything to win. But
no,
anyway.
I don't like him as a head coach. I mean, look.
1 year.
He what?
He only was there for 1 year, 2 years, whatever. Not more than two.
Yeah, he had the same. He basically had the same talent that Harbaugh had when Harbaugh took over. Harbaugh took over his team, and look what he did with his team.
Yeah, but it's
to the playoffs.
Well, it's a matter of today's. It's the same thing. The old kick-in-the-ass coaches. I was in this argument with a buddy of mine who's another loser like us. He's a Jet fan, and he loves Eric Mangini. And I've always said Eric Mangini was a man genius. Like they coined him in the New York papers. He's a smart guy. The problem with him was that he was a kick-in-the-ass coach. It was his way or the highway. And he says, yeah, well, and this is my buddy, says, yeah, well, so was Parcells, so is Belichick. They're successful. The difference is that those guys, the Parcells and the Belichicks, they have the rings. They have the experience. They bring that into a locker room, just like a Jimmy Johnson, where the players are going to respect them. Eric Mangini is, 10 years younger than half the players on the team. He didn't win anything. They don't respect him. I think despite being, as accomplished as a ball player as Mike Singletary was, he didn't have the respect of the young mentality of today's player. And I think that the coaches that have the ability to coach these kids are the ones that are successful today.
Yeah, a guy like Harbaugh.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
How to
Listen,
coach these kids.
Listen, I like Harbaugh.
You hit the nail right on the head. You said Mike Singletary is a lunatic.
He is.
He is.
I love him.
He is.
I love lunatics.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a player, he was great, and I think as like a defensive coach, either the I don't know about the coordinator, but linebacker coach, whatever. Yeah, I would definitely have him on my team. I think he's an asset. But
like Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis would make a great coach.
Absolutely.
He's
absolutely, he'd make a great coach.
Well, let's talk about this game in San Francisco today a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is going back to San Fran. He's going to be playing the number 2 seed. The Packers are hot, man. The Packers are playing the way we expected them. To me, it's time for the 49ers to make a stand. Can they do it?
Can they do it? They can, yeah. Will they do it? That's the other question. Right now, the Packers are healthy. And don't forget, when they played, was the first game of the season in Green Bay?
Yeah.
And they lost, 30-22?
Yeah, I was right. You were wrong, remember?
First game of the season. But now, like you said, Packers are hitting their stride. I mean, they won 10 out of their last 12. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's back. Clay Matthews is back. C.J. Wilson is back. Charles Woodson is back. They have just – they're one of the hotter teams, like Seattle, that are in the playoffs. So that's the question. I mean, you asked the question, can San Francisco beat this team? Yes, they can. But will they? I don't know.
Let me ask you a
I'm not
question.
going to give away my pick right
No,
now.
I know. Let me ask you a question about getting back to Harbaugh and coaching in the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with his move about benching Alex Smith? I mean, when you look back at the season, Alex Smith was doing everything perfectly. He got an injury that kept him out of one game, and he basically never started again. And they did lose, I think, 1 or 2 games under Kaepernick or Kapachnik or whatever, however you say Kaepernick.
Kaepernick.
We know that Harbaugh wanted this guy. There's rumor that Alex Smith may even end up on the New York Jets. I don't know. But, the bottom line is, Alex Smith is a good quarterback, and he's proved it. And just in the middle of arguably his best season, he gets benched. Is that going to haunt the 49ers, or do you think it's going to help them?
Well, if they lose and Kaepernick has a bad game, obviously that's going to be the first thing they write about. Why'd you do? Listen, do I agree with it? Yeah, I do. This is my reason. I don't believe that. Just because a guy's injured, I play the hot hand. That's me. That's how I think. That's how I would coach. I would play the hot hand. Whatever's working then, that's what I'm going to stick with. Keep in mind, though, that when Jim Harbaugh came to the 49ers, he inherited Alex Smith. He drafted Colin Kaepernick. That was his guy. So he wants his footprint on the team, his handprint, and so he's going to play his guy. And you talked about Alex Smith possibly going to the Jets. If Kaepernick obviously stays the starting quarterback, Smith's going to ask for a trade, and he's going to be asked to be let go because why should he be a backup? He's gotten better, and also he's gotten better under the tutelage of Harbaugh. So how he fits in another system, that's to be determined. But I don't disagree with what he did. I think he thinks that Kaepernick, there's more advantage to having Kaepernick back there.
There's one advantage. He can run better.
He could run. Okay, that's an advantage.
But he doesn't throw better.
He absolutely has a good arm.
He's got a strong arm.
He's absolutely accurate. He's not like he doesn't have the accuracy of a Mark Sanchez. He is definitely a better accurate quarterback. So I don't see. I only see upside. What you saw in Alex Smith is what you saw in Alex Smith. That's what you got. I think there's more upside to Colin Kaepernick.
Well, we'll see today. We'll see. He's got a tough nut to crack today. Speaking of tough nuts, whether you like Peyton Manning or not, this was the missing link. And for all the Tebow fans out there, you Tebow maniacs, you see why John Elway shipped him off to New York and picked up whatever it took to get Peyton over there. Yeah, after that first couple of games, this is Peyton Manning's team. This is Peyton Manning like he was 10 years ago. This guy looks like he's hard to stop at this point. The only thing is, I'm not giving away my pick, but I'm rooting. Not that I'm saying I'm picking, but I'm kind of rooting for the Ravens because I'd love to see the murderer Ray Lewis go out, with a win here. And the question that I'm looking at, really, Mikey, is how long can Ray Lewis get his teammates to just be playing for him? They clearly played for him last week. Are they going to play again for him this week? Are they going to play again for him next week if they advance? And would they play again for him in the Super Bowl? That's going to be what it boils down to. But, man, does he have a tough game ahead of him today in Denver.
Two things. Number one, this will not be the 31-17 blowout that took place in Baltimore when these two teams played. It's definitely a lot closer than that. Number two, I believe that was Jim Caldwell's first game as offensive coordinator. They fired Cam Cameron, and that was Caldwell's first game calling plays. So obviously it was just new to him, and he's had time to prepare. He's got games under his belt right now, so it's going to be a different game, much closer game as far as I'm concerned. Can this team sustain and have that same kind of intensity and play for Ray Lewis? Absolutely. I mean, he's a difference maker. I mean, just his presence on the field, just sparks a team like like no other, really. And the other story you said, of course, is Peyton Manning coming back and the missing link, and he was the missing link, obviously, because you weren't going to win with Tim Tebow. And it doesn't surprise me that Manning has had a good year, not at all. I mean, as long as he stayed healthy, it wasn't. There's no surprise here. So this game is it's going to be a real close one. Again, it's not going to be the rout that took place, a few weeks ago in Baltimore, and you're going to see this Ravens team. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but you're going to see them playing with that same intensity.
Well, let's talk about the picks now, and we're going into playoff week. It's actually second playoff week. Well, we missed a couple of weeks here, but it didn't really affect my play at all because we're going in with our head-to-head competition. I'm up 4 big ones. That means Mikey's got to really go on a tear. And the other issue is, the odds are totally against you, my man, because
absolutely,
let's face it. I mean, these playoff games. I am finding it very hard to believe that you're going to be going against me with every single pick. But just to remind everyone, we had 5 differences in the last time out, and yours truly won 4 of those 5.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I lost was my damn 49ers, and we'll see what happens with this week. But first game first, let's talk about the Broncos against the Ravens. We'll give it the way the line has it set up, and that's the first game. In my opinion, and I'm going to pick first this week because I don't want to hear you crying that I copied off of your picks, and because I'm already ready to have you with the excuses. I'm all ready for the excuses to start. Especially when you caught up with me a couple of weeks back, and you were pretty cocky. So anyway, just to remind you, in case you guys missed it, I'm up 4 games on Mikey right now, going into the playoffs here, second week, and with this Broncos. Ravens matchup. I gave it away a few seconds ago. I'm really rooting for the Ravens, 100%. I want the Ravens to win. However, because I picked the Broncos at the beginning of the season to not only win the division but win it for the AFC, I have the Broncos in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. I'm sticking with the Broncos. I'm rooting for the Ravens. I'm telling you flat out, even though that this, even though this competition means more to me, no, even though I want to win the competition against Mikey, I got to stick with my team that I picked at the beginning of the year because I want to brag about that too at the end of the season. But I am really rooting for the Ravens, but officially I'm picking the Broncos. How do you see it?
I have to pick the Broncos as well. I mean, I can't just pick, the opposite of you. I just think, 11 wins in a row. They've scored 30 points or more in 11 games this year. The defense is, I think an underrated defense, meaning the Denver Bronco defense. Baltimore, in order to win, is going to have to create turnovers. And as accurate as Peyton Manning is, I don't think that's going to happen. And I do believe in home field advantage, especially in football. Even with Ray Lewis back, like I said, it'll be a closer game than the rout that took place in Baltimore. But I still think that this is a Bronco team is going to win by at least 10 points.
It's funny. You think that. In a way, that the Ravens were saying goodbye to Ray last week, and anything from this point on is gravy. They already said goodbye. They already played, and I'm hoping that they carry the emotion with them to Denver. But I am going against them. The one thing I will say, and I should have said it, you just reminded me when you said 11 wins in a row for the Broncos. They are due to lose, bro. They're due to lose, and you know how football, that's what I love so much about college football. Emotions really play a big part in football, more so in the college level than the pros. But every so often you get a guy like Ray Lewis that can carry a team emotionally, and it's not like they're not a talented team. It's just that he seems to bring out the best in that team. I picked the Broncos like you, of course, but I'm rooting for the Ravens. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose who I'm going to root for, yeah, I like to see Ray Lewis and the Ravens go at least one more game.
Yeah, and then again, on the other hand, you could argue and say, hey, it's great to see Peyton Manning come back, and 1 year back, bam, he's in the Super Bowl. It goes to secure his legacy. But the next game today is the other one we talked a lot about. The 49ers are hosting the Seattle Seahawks. I actually picked the 49ers to win the division and get into the Super Bowl and beat Denver. Mikey picked Seattle at the beginning of the year. And pretty much hit them right on the head, explaining how they were going to have a great year, and that all came true. How this matchup is, I see a pretty evenly matched game, like we talked about a few minutes ago. With all that said, I'm going with the Niners. Every time I look at Pete Carroll, I see him, doing the choke move for a field goal kick. I see his gray hair that he should cut. I see a repulsive guy all of a sudden to me, and the fact that the 49ers have always been my second favorite team, I'm going with the Niners.
All right, well, you're talking about Pete Carroll. That's what Seattle. We're playing Green Bay. You're confusing the two.
Right.
I'm still.
You're right. You're going to let me keep looking like an idiot. You're going to let me keep. Yeah, I know.
Listen, the only thing I got because you're going to beat me in the pick. So
well, I'm still picking the
49ers. I got to take a shot.
I'm still picking the 49ers.
But yeah, I am sticking with my pick, and that I said that Green Bay would have a very good year. It didn't start off that way, but it definitely ended up that way, and they're hitting their stride. I mentioned before they've won 10 out of the last 12. Everybody's healthy. There's no excuses. Everybody's healthy on this team. Gonna be a good game, but I just think that in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers is he's head and shoulders above, and he's probably the best. If you want to look at quarterback ratings, he's the best all time in playoffs. Ahead of Manning and Brady and anybody. So I just think it's his time. He's going to shine. Kaepernick, it's his first playoff game. I think he's going to have the jitters. And I think Green Bay is going to win this game.
Well, I will never forgive you for letting me look like such an idiot for so long. And with that, now I'm not even going to hold back any, when I'm cheering and patting myself on the back for winning this thing, because it's virtually impossible for you to win at this point.
Exactly.
So you might as well. Yes, I forgot to mention anything about the Packers since they were actually the ones playing the 49ers. But yes, just to reiterate, I still am picking the 49ers to beat the discount double check Packers. But the next game happens to. You guys know how I feel about the coach of the Seattle Seahawks, because I just gave it all away right now. And with all that said, no, it's not changing my mind. I might as well just I'm picking the Falcons. Who do you like?
The hot pick would be to pick Seattle. The running game has been excellent. The defense is they probably have the best defense in football right now. Even better than the 49ers. But I just think there's so much pressure on Matt Ryan to win one. Get that O lifted from his record. That I think they're going to do it. And it's not so much on the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively they are a better team than Washington. I think that the front seven is a very decent team. I think they're going to put pressure on Russell Wilson. I think they'll contain Marshawn Lynch. He'll get his yards, but he will not get as many yards as he did against a team like Washington. And they will do enough to win. It's not so much the receivers. I think Tony Gonzalez is going to have a really good game. I think that's going to be Ryan's go-to guy. So that being said, I do like the Falcons as well to get their first and Matt Ryan to get their first playoff victory.
The last game of the season, the last game of the weekend that we'll pick is the Houston Texans are going to New England. I don't think weather's going to be much of a factor, at least cold-wise. It may be a little nasty, rainy and stuff like that, which is an issue with the Texans. I I hate the Patriots. I'd be lying if I said anything different. You know, I hate them. You know, would I like Belichick as a coach? Yeah. Would I like Brady as a quarterback? Yeah. Do I like them? No. You know, I was recently asked, you know, what's worse for you? Do you hate? No, the guy asked me, what do you hate more? Do you hate Belichick? Do you hate the Patriots? Or do you hate Brady? And I said, you know, that's a great question. And the answer to that is I hate the Patriots. You know, I don't really have anything against Brady or Belichick, with the exception of the fact that they're with the Patriots. What does all that mean? Texans, baby. I'm picking the Texans. Who do you like?
I don't know why you're picking the Texans, but
trying to make it interesting for you.
Oh well, I mean, I don't see anything different here than what happened in Week 14 when the Patriots routed them, 42-14. If anything, the Texans aren't playing good ball. I mean, if you watch that game against Cincinnati, it was a dreadful game. Schaub is terrible. And yeah, this is the team that I picked to make the Super Bowl. But you know what? I got to be honest. Belichick with a week to prepare, an extra week, and these guys are well rested, and you got Gronkowski back. You didn't have him when they played. I don't see how this. People saying this game's gonna be closer. Why? Why is it gonna be closer? I just watched how Houston played last week, and now they're gonna go to New England and play better. I don't think so. I think this game is an easy game for the Patriots.
Yeah, well, I think the Patriots are going to – I think this game is going to be won outright by the Texans. How about if I tell you this, that the Texans don't even make it close? How about that? Would you think I'm somebody slipped something in my coffee or what?
Absolutely. Somebody slips. I think you got scotch in your coffee right now, to be honest with you.
I after dumping my phone in the toilet.
Let me ask you a question. Why? What makes you think there's going to be a different outcome than what happened in Week 14?
I think they're going to be able to run on them today. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to control the clock. They're going to keep the ball out of Brady's hands. I just think that listen, offensively, the Patriots, they got it going on, obviously, but so do the Texans. I don't know. I think that loss. I think that the Texans basically focused the rest of the season on that loss. This game means a lot to the Texans, and they need to prove that they can win in a place like New England. I don't know. I'm honest when I tell you I think the Texans are going to win, and I wasn't just giving you a win here. So I really do. But anyway, good luck. You may catch up on me, 2 points. You may get 2 points here, but it's going to be a tough road for you. Don't mean to laugh, but whatever. I'm still laughing at my own self with the dropping my phone in the toilet. Hey, I wanted to leave a little extra time today because on this day, January 12th, in 1906, representatives of two intercollegiate football rules committees met in New York, and they eventually formed the NCAA, and that took place on this day in 1906. On this day in 1959, the U.S. Supreme Court orders a dissolution of the International Boxing Club, which was the promotional subsidiary of Madison Square Garden. Why? Because of antitrust grounds. But the true reason was the IBC and its president, Truman Gibson, had been under investigation for several years because of corruption allegations. But the most important thing that happened on this day, January 12th, in 1969, something that we have been living with for our whole lives, Mikey, something that is the franchise, something that all I can ever look to is what happened on this day in 1969, and that was the Jets, Jets, won Super Bowl III in one of the most famous upsets in sports history. The New York Jets were an 18-point underdog. Joe Willie Namath predicted that the Jets would not only cover, but they would win. Matt Snell scored a touchdown in the first quarter. Jim Turner followed it with 3 field goals. They beat the Baltimore Colts, who had only lost one game in 16 to 7. And by the way, Broadway Joe was 17 of 28 for 206 yards. He won the MVP. Mikey, what's your thoughts on that game and what the importance of Super Bowl III not only meant to us as Jet fans, but really to football? Because let's face it, all kidding aside, it changed the NFL.
It absolutely did, and it kind of feels like it was just yesterday the Jets won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no,
I gotta laugh because it seems like it's been my lifetime. Oh yeah, it has been my lifetime.
And actually, I was 3, so I really couldn't. I mean, you probably enjoyed it a little bit more.
That game was the first game I remember watching as a kid. It was the first game, and I don't know if I ever told you the story, but it was also the first game I ever bet on. I was 8 years old, and the thing was my uncle was a Colts fan. He's a Giants fan, but he liked Johnny Unitas, and I'll never forget it. I went over to his house because he had a color TV set in Long Island. And he says, "Hey Billy, who do you like in a football game?" And I'm like, "Football? Who's playing? Oh, this is Joe Namath, Broadway Joe." And I saw Joe Namath, and all the girls around him and everything else. I said, "Oh, that's the team I'm picking." And they're like, "You sure? You want to bet? You want to bet?" $1. We bet, and my gambling career began.
Your gambling career started right then and there.
And the downfall of being a Jet fan
right.
started, but meant a lot to me, and I really think that Joe Namath, all kidding aside, put a curse on this franchise because it's just never been able to live up to what took place on this day in 1969.
Yeah, it's just amazing that we haven't been back since. You got teams like Carolina has made the Super Bowl, and it's just you just shake your head. How come we can't get there?
It was even
now we're in such disarray. It's going to be a terrible, terrible year next year.
And
There's no doubt.
And you know what else? The Jets, aside from Ryan, had only made the AFC Championship game one time since then. One time. And they had only won actually 2 times, if you want to count. I forgot about the Miami one that they lost. The Mud Bowl. But that year, I think, was actually the only year they had won the division. I think they only won the AFC division 1 year. I don't think they won it the year that they got into the championship games. I think New England had won it. Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the case?
You're right.
I think they only won it that 1 year. But as a matter of fact, they may not have won it in 1981 when they went to the championship game. I think obviously they didn't. Because Miami won it. I guess the year they won the division was Testaverde in '98, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but anyway, great weekend of football, Mikey, and another great show. Now we are going to be back next week, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and I know I want to wish you and yours a safe trip. I know you're going to be taking a trip today, and not that I'm wishing any ill will on your picks, but obviously I hope the 49ers and the Texans specifically win big today and tomorrow, and I hope I can get a little more separation from you, just to rub your face, make you eat the dirt, aside from rubbing you into it,
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to get to see these games. Maybe I get to see some of the night game because I got rehearsal dinner. I'm going to a wedding for people who don't know what I'm doing. I have to go to a wedding in South Carolina. But just before we go, I just want you to tell everybody out there and be honest. Be honest.
Oh no. Go ahead.
Just tell them the truth.
Okay.
You do have a tattoo of me on your arm with a Joe Namath jersey, right?
Yeah, and he's doing the Tim Tebow pose too. That was the whole thing. That was ridiculous. And the whole thing about that is, for him to come out and say, "Oh, I've had it for years." Well, guess what, Rex? You couldn't have had it for more than 3 years because the guy wasn't even on the team.
It's a circus that doesn't end.
It is, and that's why they need to bring Rob Ryan in to make this a full circus. And then maybe they should all come out in the center of the field in a little Volkswagen, all come out out of midfield, like the clowns do.
The clowns in the Volkswagen. But if you bring Rob Ryan in, you'll never see the game. All the cameras will be on Rob and Rex. You'll never see the game.
No, I know.
You have to listen to the radio. I mean, that's a kind of circus it would be.
Well, listen, man.
It's just terrible.
Well, listen, we hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we're telling you this. Make sure you tune in next week. Mikey, good luck at the wedding. Have some fun, and I'll talk to you later in the week. And to everybody else, you know what we like to say at the end of the show? Ciao, baby.